Good evening, my brothers and sisters, and great power be to you. Good evening. Welcome to Let's Chat. We're broadcasting simultaneously on Facebook and YouTube through our StreamYard account. For those who might be interested in getting into the broadcasting, live broadcasting or podcasting or whatever they call it, business. Now you see the information scrolling across the bottom. It's pretty self-explanatory. I only ever say it is if you feel like this that we do here on Wednesday nights, and I got almost 400 videos on my YouTube channel. They're on Facebook as well, but you'd have to scroll back years to find them. But if you believe you're benefiting from what you're hearing and you feel compelled by the Holy Spirit to be a contributor, I don't have a Patreon or Give5, but uh, um, Zelle and Cash App are adequate, and you're highly appreciated. For those who, and I pretty much stress only if the Holy Spirit guides you in that manner. Now, for those who may be unbelievers, and that phrase does not resonate with you, but you feel some compelling to give, you're highly appreciated as well. But that being said, that's about all I say on those types of things. I leave it to people's conscience to, and I don't go into all this. And people provide you a service and you give them money, and to me that's self-serving, and I get it. The scriptures say a laborer is worthy of his hire, but you didn't hire me; God did. So it is behooves him to move you, the listening audience, whether you're watching this live or at some point in the future, near or distant future. Since he hired me, I trust him to move upon your hearts. I had a dear sister this past Sunday call me over and asked me how to spell my name, and then she said the Lord told her to do, and she did, and I expressed my appreciation. So that's how I roll, and that's all I'll say about that. The information is there for you. If it's moving a little too fast, just watch, and it'll come across enough for you to catch it. That being said, I want to get right into this. I read this last week. I want to just read it again for context. The scriptures do not address dating, and I'm not going to go back through everything I said last week. If you missed part one, please go and check it out. I want to get into the topics tonight, so I don't want to go back through all of last week, but I want to read this again. Proverbs chapter 8. Proverbs chapter 8. Pray you're all well. This weather, if you can hear a little bit of congestion, yeah, I don't have COVID or anything like that, but it did catch me. I went walking last week and it was warm, but it was windy. People were out cutting grass and doing all those wonderful, wonderful things that they do when the weather is nice. And I didn't have any allergy medicine and paid the price until I was able to get some on Monday. And so I'm trying to play catch up and get that congestion under control. So keep me in your prayers. So I'm gonna have to clear my throat, and I may have to slide a little bit to my left or right and excommunicate some some material. And so I'm apologizing in advance for that. But that being said, Proverbs chapter 8, verse 32 through 36. I'm not sure why it takes so long to pop up on my YouTube channel, but it's already on my Facebook. So let's move forward. It says this, and now, and this is wisdom personified, meaning given like a personage, a person attributes. And now, son, listen to me. This is wisdom talking, right? Listen to me. Those who keep my ways are happy. Listen to instruction and be wise. Don't ignore it. So listen to the instruction of wisdom. There's instruction inside wisdom. Anyone who listens to me, wisdom, is happy, once again, watching at my doors or the doors of wisdom every day, waiting by my post, by the post of my doorway. For the one who finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. I just want to go back over this. I'm not going to dig into it like I did last week, but I just want to just put it back out there. Verse 36, but the one who misses me, if you miss wisdom, catch this. The one who misses me harms himself or herself. All who hate me love death. Those who hate wisdom, wise sayings, wise information, essentially hate themselves and love death. Now, my words, hear the words of God through the pen of King Solomon. That said, let's move on. A couple of things I said last week is when you're going to engage in a dating, engagement, marriage, and hopefully you'll be able to avoid divorce. But if you face divorce, as I have, things you want to keep in mind. One of the points we made is you want to consider whatever your belief system is. Even if you're an atheist, you have a belief system. Your belief system is anti-religious, but it's a belief system nonetheless. And in that belief system, you want to consider the moral code or the ethics of your belief system. Since I am a Christian, that means I take my cue from Scripture. I take my ethical code, my moral code from Scripture. Does not mean that I am perfect in following it and keeping it. That's two different things. But I do acknowledge the ethics and moral codes of Scripture. And as a Christian, I am called to live up to that code through the sanctification process by the help of the Holy Spirit and on and on and on and on. But that is the code that I ascribe to live by considering myself or calling myself a Christian. And so if there are Christians watching me, that is the code that you live by. It's not up for debate. I want to be clear. If you consider yourself to be a Christian, I'm not, again, Peter, Acts chapter 15, said we could not keep the law. We did not keep it. We were not able to keep it. Apart from God, none of us can. So and I'm not giving anybody an excuse or making excuses. It's just Peter said it. The apostle Peter said we were not able to keep it. So the moral code, the ethical code of God in Scripture is for all generations and all time. We can't kill, we can't or murder. We're not supposed to bear false witness or lie. We're not supposed to steal, whether by robbery or theft or whatever the case may be. So those are the ethical codes, and obviously that includes adultery and fornication, okay, covetousness, pride, all of that's in there, okay. That being said, so whatever your moral code is, maybe the Scriptures is not your moral code, but that moral code is really supposed to be universal. It's not just for Christians. Enough of that. And so whatever your moral code is, whatever your ethics are, as taken from your belief system, you want to carry that forward into your dating, engagement, and marriage. That was pretty much the point of last week. This week, I want to focus in on the individual things. Let's start with a date. Obviously, a date. So what is a date? A date is exactly what it said. A date is a date. Now, I've had these, and when I first became single, obviously quite a few years ago now, over 8.5 years ago, I started asking this question. I spent most of my adult life married, even though I've been married multiple times, but I was just kind of out of one marriage into another, and I didn't go on dates, just to be honest, necessarily. I met and, almost could say got engaged and boom, married, and we might have went out, or but it's sadly not something I did a lot of. So that said, a date really is a date. Now, why is that important, Gabe? That seems so obvious. Is it? You'd be amazed how many people I've talked to who they put on a date, a scheduled. So let me say a more technical definition, if you will, is a scheduled event. The location is not the issue. So no, it's got to be out the house. Hey, that's up to you. Again, whatever your code, whatever your ethic, whatever your code, that's you. Whatever your preference. I'm not getting into that. I'm not oh, by the way, disclaimer from last week, I'm not a matchmaker, on and on and on and on. If this helps you, great, but don't call me about, Gabe, I got this guy, this girl I want to talk to, and hook me up. This ain't Hitch. Hot chocolate, I don't drink coffee. So a date is an outing, typically, but it's a scheduled point on the calendar. Literally, you have a wedding date. You have a doctor appointment date. Now, we are talking about men and women. Again, my other disclaimer from last week is whenever I'm talking about these things, I am talking about between a man and a woman. I'm a Christian. The Christian ethic is this relationship between a man and a woman. So typically set up by a man, but that doesn't always have to be. There is no mandate in scripture that a man has to be the one to extend the invitation. I have actually accepted invitations from the opposite sex. I went on dates that I was approached, asked me, and typically a friend, acquaintance, Gabe, I've got this. Could you be my plus one? Sure. And I went with them as their plus one. That's a date. Now, again, Gabe, why are you having this conversation? Why are you discussing this? That's obvious, right? No. There are people, and I've recommended people, go on dates. I am not going to waste my time. I am not going on a date. If it ain't marriage, it's a waste of time. You know what's fascinating to me? I haven't gotten in trouble yet, and I'm already 10 minutes in, so I got to get in trouble. The same people who are quick to tell me about why they don't want to waste their time by scheduling and showing up to dates are typically people who don't have very good social interactions with the opposite sex. I'll let you chew on that for a second while I enjoy a nice sip of my hot chocolate. Heavenly. Let me do it again. Oh. In my 8.5 years of being single, in my conversational observations, I have noted that the people who immediately scoff on even the idea of accepting an invitation or extending an invitation, oh, if it ain't marriage, I don't want to do it, which is typically women. Men don't typically say that. Or, man, you just can't find nobody worth going on a date. They just gold diggers. That's typically men. And I'm sitting there like, are you trying to suggest that there's nobody that you can go sit down and drink a cup of hot chocolate? Let me do it again. I felt a praise break right there. I'm sorry. Delicious. Are you kidding me? And yet, the same people who are talking in this way talk about getting married. Okay, so let me talk as a person who's been married. Even though I didn't go on a lot of dates pre-marriage, I would go out to eat with the person I was married to. And in particular with my son's mother, had great conversation at home and out. And not that she was the only person, but I'm just saying. And I've told people this, and so I'm now making this public. I want to put this on record. If you can't just go and comfortably, how dressed up, I'm not getting into that, how dressed up or not dressed up or casual or semi-casual, or I figure two grown people, I'm not talking to children. I don't have any children on my Facebook page, none. Zero. Talk to me, people. Am I saying something to you beyond, explosive and wow, I've never heard that? Men and women, are you telling me that you can't accept an invitation or extend an invitation with no intention but to be face to face? I understand social media allows for, you have a lot of comments. Okay, cool. But at some point, when you want to be face to face with this person, you're having great conversation, I hope, on the phone, online, FaceTime. I don't know how you're communicating, but an invitation is extended, and you go and you sit. Now, why is this important? Well, it actually has far more importance than you realize. Some of you have been through some things, relationally speaking. How do you know that you're ready for something serious and major after what you went through in your previous relationship if you get all tight and cling and cringy when it comes to just accepting an invitation, and you immediately start talking about, yeah, but my ex-wife, man, she messed me up. Man, my ex-husband, he messed me up. And they just said, can we go have some coffee? Hot chocolate. So you can't have a Starbucks. Have a Starbucks, people say, have Starbucks. You can't go and get a McDonald's coffee, and I'm keeping it basic. I ain't talking about a lot of money. You can't go sit at the park, when it's a little warmer, and just have some conversation face to face. Breakup. I'm not trying to minimize your breakup, but you're praying to God. Now, let me talk to my Christian brothers and sisters. You're calling on the universe for those who are into that stuff. Whoever you're, Buddha, Krishna, Mohammed, whoever you're talking to. As my son and I, when we watch in the mornings, we watch Justice League. We both like DC movies and of course Marvel and Wonder Woman. Hera, give me strength. And we both laugh, Anyway, that's just a father-son thing. And she's always, for every major task, she's calling on her goddess to help her. And some of you, man, you can't even accept an invitation. Again, I'm not here to say, now we're grown people, and I'm going to use terminology tonight. I should have said this in the beginning. I'm going to use the proper terminology. And if you're one of those Christians stuck in the woods and, you can't function and whatever, I feel for you. I really do. I pray for you. I am going to use proper terms for genitalia. Look, genitalia. See, I remember my anatomy class. I remember. So I'm going to use those terms in a minute. Stay with me. Don't get mad. I'm going to use the proper terms because I think I'm talking to adults, right? Okay. So Gabe, really? Yeah. Aren't you a preacher? Yeah. I don't know what they have to do with genitalia. Me being a preacher has nothing to do with genitalia. So are you saying that you can't schedule a meeting face to face? Are you saying that when somebody approaches you to schedule a meeting, that is beyond reasoning and belief? Well, Gabe, no, I understand. But the implications, and let me especially talk to you who feel like every move you make in regards to the opposite sex should be leading you to holy matrimony and till death do us part. If you're willing to be honest, those of you who have been married in particular and it didn't work, and I've obviously as pastoral guidance, I don't particularly call it counsel anymore, but pastoral guidance that I've given over the years, um, in regards to relationships that have fallen apart, a lot of times it falls apart in the point of communication, but not the distant communication. You're married. It falls apart at the point of the face-to-face communication. I don't necessarily say that I want to be face-to-face because I want to read you and see if you're lying to me. No, I'm not an FBI agent. And for those who have the skill in that, congratulations, more power to you. I don't want to be face-to-face with a person because I want to read their body language and I want to check them out. And again, I need to have a whole nother one-on-one with you. We need to get you some counsel and some guidance and some stuff to help you. Because if you're that cynical, why are you trying to be in a relationship? Well, Gabe, I don't want to be lonely. Yeah, but you want to be cynical. Why do you want to put your cynicism and your unhealed disposition on and unresolved issues on someone else? See, that's a whole nother thing. I'm talking about somebody who would like to engage the opposite sex, and I don't mean having sex. I mean engage. Because if you don't want to have just everyday engagement face to face, how do you think? I'm asking a question. Ain't nobody gonna answer me, but I'm asking anyway. Why do you think you're ready for something serious? I'm just curious. I'll wait. I mean, am I saying something again that's so mind blowing? It seems wise to me that if there's any chance that you would meet the man of your dreams, the woman of your dreams, of your fantasies, that you would want to encounter them and have a conversation with them, or two or five, or face to face. And yes, in that process of time, you will see what their body language is. You will come across some things that you won't come across on the phone, even talking on the phone. Those of you who are on the phone enthusiasts. Some of you, we got to talk. I mean, when I was on social sites, some people call dating sites, and I would see some profiles that said, if you don't want to do FaceTime, I can't trust you. I'm like, you need serious counseling. That's a person who is also arrogant because they actually think that because of their personal experience, they're going to be able to know. No, because there are some people out there who are so dastardly that they pride themselves on tricking people like you. Those are the ones who are going to come for you. Then you're going to just give up on relationships altogether, but you shouldn't go into a date, that's all I'm talking about right now, with this notion that your job, see, what I'm suggesting is, let me get to the point, is that you take the weight of potential life mate, excuse me, off the situation and just sit down. Yes, they may be attractive. We talked about attraction and attractiveness last week. And without attractiveness, I don't exist. My father had to see my mother as attractive. I'm not talking about her being pretty. I mean, there had to be things about her looks included, that had to be attracting to him. Or John, Gabe, and Kat, and therefore Brittany, Deshawn, and Gabriel Patrick would not exist. And for my son, his mother and father, me and Tara, had to see things that were attracting about one another, or he would not exist. But beyond those initial attention grabbers, let me define attraction like that. Beyond those attention grabbers, and yes, physical appearance is a part of attention grabbing, ladies. I'm not sure why that would bother you, but yes, physical appearance, Bill, gentlemen, even some gentlemen, I don't, I don't, I don't, I'm almost 50, like, a couple of months from now, basically. 2 months as of day after Christmas. I'll be 50. So excuse me if I sound a bit more progressive or mature than you might be accustomed to. But attractiveness is a necessary element with all due respect. My son is not handsome because of me. Thank you, though, but his mother has quite a bit to do with that. I would say. Like, his hair texture did not come from me, obviously. The boy has naturally curly brown hair. Yes, brown. Did not come from me. My hair is black, well, gray more or less now. I just don't let it grow. He got his hair color from his mother. Now, his eye color he got from me. My eyes are brown, but he got his hair color from his mother. And that boy's curls used to be huge. His skin color, in part, comes from his mother more than me. So, attractingness is important. It's not everything. If you're going to consider the possibility of long-term relationships, then I would think marriage works better when you can talk to each other. And wait a minute, and I just had to go through a supervisory. It's basically like an assessment. We have to do it once a month. Once a month? I think it's once a month. And one of the things my supervisor said is that she noticed that I'm willing to engage in confrontation, not to be confrontational, but I'm willing to engage where confrontation is necessary. Now, let me say this. Time comes, I get married again. And yes, I will get married again. When that time comes, confrontation, argumentation, dealing with tough situations are a part of marriage. I don't care if you don't like it. It is a part of it. It doesn't mean that you have to fight each other. You may have to fight the world together, but you have to be prepared and willing to confront. And my supervisor noted that I am willing to confront difficult situations, not just as a parent with my child, not just as a worker in mental health with some of the clients who occasionally get out of pocket, as you can imagine. But I am willing to confront and be confronted by the woman when I get married again, who I will marry. And I better be able to do that. Or why would I get married? Now, I'm not suggesting I would get married just to have confrontation. No, but there are issues in this life that are very difficult. And we have to be open and willing to come to the table and sit down face to face and talk, and not just everything is, how are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm good too. How was your day? Wonderful. How was your day? Wonderful. Let's have sex. What? Let's go on a trip. And are we going to talk to each other? Not really. Not really. I mean, as long as we're talking about things that are fun, as long as we're talking about things that are wonderful, as long as we're talking about our 5 love languages, I guess we're good. So if you can't start with a date and sit down and say, so tell me what you think about politics. Well, I just don't talk about politics. Okay, scratch. Now, politics matters to our life, but you don't want to talk about it. Okay, got it. Okay, what do you think about the financial climate? That's still politics. I don't want to talk about that. Fine. Okay, you're already losing brownie points with me. And I am not a political person, which I've talked about very openly. Yet I understand that there is a measure of, I don't get into conspiracy theories and all of that nonsense, but there is a measure of politics that, like the law, because politics, right? Politicians are supposed to create policy. Supposed to. Now, I went to one of the most uncomfortable conversations for me to make my point. It's wise that if and when I marry again, that I would sit down and be able to sit across from someone, and if I say Donald Trump or Joe Biden, that people don't start flipping out and cussing, and I can't talk to you because I don't like politics, Gabe. Okay, well then you and I can't be a thing. We probably can't even be friends, and I am not even political. Why, Gabe? Why do you put such weight on politics? No. What I put weight on is the fact that we have to be able to talk about tough subjects even that we may not be fully versed on. And we have to put our ego aside. Gabe, did you just say ego about in respect to a woman? Yes. So I'm telling you that if you want to put weight on a date, put this kind of weight, a communication weight. If I give any suggestion to the type of date you would do, I would suggest a date in the day, in the night, whatever, where you won't have a ton of distractions. I don't recommend your first face-to-face is a movie. I don't recommend a club that's packed full of people. Oh, you love to dance and he loves to dance and y'all love to shoot pool. But if you got 14,000 people, yes, I'm exaggerating, but if you got 1 million people in that club or at that sports bar and you're trying to have a conversation and the waitress and the waiter is trying to talk to and the people around you and there's conversations bleeding over into your conversation and somebody scores a touchdown on the TV and you trying to have a little conversation, what are you doing? In my opinion, not Bible, you almost chose that place as a way of saying, I really don't want to talk to you and I don't want you to talk to me. If a lady tells me on the phone, Gabe, I'm about communication. And then, so I say, okay, so let's go to the park for our first meeting or to a nice quiet restaurant. And she flip out on me, she ain't about communication. Now, I kind of let the cat out the bag on that one, but I did that just to help somebody out. A date is an opportunity where you can not get married and try to determine whether or not you would marry this man or woman. No, it's an opportunity to schedule an event. Wherever you go, it's up to you, but I suggest you pick a place where more than just your attraction is going to be at the forefront. Oh, you missed it. That was some wisdom you didn't expect. Let me slow that down because I hit you with some wisdom you didn't expect. You want to go to a place where more than just the things that attract you is all that you focus on. If you go to the movies, ladies, let me show you something. If you go to the movie, your first meeting, and to a bar or to a club, then he can sit back and look at your attractiveness and not have to worry about what's coming out of here, which reflects what's coming out of here. And if you value what's in here and what's in here, you want him to extend an invitation that no, he may not spend $1 billion on you, but you get a chance to express what's in here and in here out of here, and he can hear you. And fellas, if you want her to value your leadership at some point, maybe when y'all hit it off and maybe get married, you don't start with taking her to a place where other men, listen, will just be ogling her and she got to be turning left and right and trying to keep her shirt down and doing this all the day because you took her to Meets R Us. And just a bunch of men sitting there trying to, some of them ain't even discreet. They just checking her out while as soon as you go to the bathroom, she got 14 brothers at the table trying to holler because you brought her in like this was a smorgasbord and you offered her up as dessert. What kind of fool are you? I don't mean no disrespect, but that's foolish. That's foolish. You don't take that woman that you think is attractive to the place where all the dudes are going to think she's unless you're just showing her off. See? If you want her to know that you value what she's saying, take her to a place where you can hear what she's saying. Now, look. I'm going to move on, but let me say this. Fellas, women know we look. I don't know why y'all haven't figured that out yet. Like I said, I'm almost 50, and basically 2.5 months from now, I'll be 50. Women know we look. I've caught women trying to catch me looking. I'm looking at them, looking at me, trying to side-eye me to see if I'm side-eyeing somebody. So even if this is not a woman I'm a marry, if I'm inviting her out and we're going somewhere, I'm not going to pick a place where I have a pretty good suspicion that it's going to be a waitress or a manager or the people that come in, because we're going to go to Applebee's at 12 midnight for some strange reason. We're going to go to a late movie, and then we're going to go there, and we're going to have a late bite to eat at Applebee's, and there's going to be women who was out, doing their thing and dressed a certain way, and they're going to come in there. We're not going to Hooters restaurant. I said what I said. That's delicious. Why would I do that? Fellas, why would you take her to the place when there's the waitress that you think is fine and you want to see if that waitress is working? So you take her on the date to the place. I don't get it. I don't get it, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I don't get it. Ladies, look. See, this is when I need to have a co-host. I need to have a female co-host so I can say something and she can, bounce that back, But ladies, look. I'm poor. Not technically in the sense of I have no money. I have money. I have a job. But when it comes to dates, a date. Remember, a date? I'm not looking to spend my rent money. I'm just being honest. Groceries, a date. I don't care if you Halle Berry, Vanessa Williams, I don't give a rip. Naomi Campbell, I don't know who you want to name. I don't care if your skin is so melodic, the breeze hit it and just, I don't care. I don't care. I'm not trying to spend my rent money just to sit down and have a conversation with you. I said it. I'm not trying to spend my light bill money. So if I got me, now I'm not saying I'll take it to McDonald's, but if I got me some near McDonald's money, maybe a little bit more, I'm going to shoot a little bit higher than that, But again, what's the goal? Which is my point. What's the intention of these dates? What's the whole point? If the point is communication, beyond attractiveness, do you really want him doing that? Why do you want him to do that? Do you need him to impress you? And if so, why? I'm asking, why do you need him to impress you with his wallet? I really want an answer to that. I'm not going to get it. Even in face-to-face conversations, I'm not going to get it. See, I can't ask my sister because she don't roll like that. I can't ask some of my close female friends. I could probably ask my coworkers. But I really want to know, is there a need for a man to impress you with his wallet? See, I've had too many conversations. I'm just going to be real plain with you. I've had too many conversations with women who got impressed with the wallet. It was attractive until that, excuse my French, Negro, until that Negro, till y'all married him and he couldn't pay no bills. Until he started asking you for his cell phone money. Till he start asking you to help him pay that car note. But he wined and dined you. And you was impressed. You went and told your mama, your daddy, your big mama, your TT, your Medea. You told your co-workers. And he blew you away with Red Lobster and with Texas Steakhouse or wherever you went to some French restaurant and ordered some red wine. I don't drink it, but you know, you do what you do. And about 2 or 3 months in, that brother was talking about, hey man, can I get a little something? And I'm not saying that I have not needed some assistance, but I didn't come out the box. My first outing is going to be, you know, but also let me just say something that's going to hurt some feelings. But I've had some first outings and didn't have a second. Whatever was attracting originally after the first outing did not carry any more weight. I'm just being honest. And we got to be okay. See, a date, if you just simplify a date and not put so much weight on it, you should be able to sit there, have a conversation. Some people didn't even get past a text message. I mean, I was like, whoa. First of all, did you take grammar in school? Yeah, we're going to have to go ahead and let that go. I'm not Eddie Murphy, and this ain't Boomerang. I'm not saying I'm that deep. But, you know, I do have a college degree. I'm not saying you got to have a bachelor's or an AA degree, but you got to be able to put some sentences and some adjectives and some verbs and some nouns. I have this person who has texted me before, and they say you know as, you know, it's supposed to be KNOW, but they put you know. NO. That is a disrespect. I'm just trying to tell you. Look, and to each his own, and that's it. I don't really do Ebonics. I might throw something out there that I hear from time to time, facts, or whatever. I'm not really an Ebonics person. So I don't care how physically attractive you may be, but it probably won't be no second and thirds, you know, dates or whatever. It might not even be one. If there is no communication. See, I keep coming back to that because I get tired of y'all talking about communication is key, Gabe. And then there's nobody willing to be honest in terms of what you mean by communication. Because people be talking, but we talking past each other. And I don't use my college terminology, honestly, a lot. I use it at work, but I don't use it on a constant. I might use my biblical education. You know, hey, it is what it is. But I don't use my college education when I'm having basic conversation. Not typically, unless we're talking about something psychology or something. And it's just amazing to me how, you know, it's like, huh? We just crossed the way like train. Now, I'm saying this out loud. They'll never know this. They never know it. I don't tell them this directly. But when it comes to a date, again, let me review. Take the weight off of it. Stop trying to turn it into marriage. Stop trying to turn it into engagement. Now, if you two hit it off, that's great. And if you had 32 conversations on the phone before you meet for the first time, I still suggest that you just come together and meet. I still suggest that. Mr. Kent Mason is asking if I'm single. I'm assuming it's Mr. I hope I'm not getting that wrong. Yes, Kent Mason. I am single. But stay with me. So the reality of it is, it's extremely important to understand a date is a date, and I don't care if you go with this person 20 times. Now, here's where we move to dating. So there is dating in the sense of I'm a person who goes on dates. That's dating. That's one way to define that. Okay, most people don't argue with that. Cool. But then there's dating, and people add the word exclusive. Okay. I'm not going to get into that milieu and exclusive dating versus sort of dating and all this kind of thing. I'm not going to get into that. So if you are dating a specific person, even though you haven't pronounced marriage and there has been no rings exchanged, I think you have to, again, have some conversation. Not, will you marry me? I'm not saying you got to go that deep, but you have to at least acknowledge to yourself first and foremost that, and men, I'm kind of talking to us, okay, you're choosing to date this person by exclusively, constantly calling them, going out with them. If you're starting to find that every week, or whenever you're free, let me not do that, but whenever you're free, you're kind of turning to them, and I'm saying kinda, because I know how people will try to nuance it, so I'm saying kinda as a nuance. But if you know, men, that you are isolating on this particular woman, and your conversations are far more intimate, not sex, but you're talking about this person. They're constantly a part of your examples. Yeah, because if I get married again and I marry somebody like you, and I marry somebody like you, or let's say if you and I get married, fellas, you got to understand the psychological ramification. Even though you're not asking her to marry you, if you keep using her and isolating on her, and every time you talk about relationships, you talk about a woman like her, and da-da-da-da-da, do you understand what you're doing? So basically, you're always out with her, even though you say, we just homies, we just friends, we just hanging. Okay, cool. And then every time you hang, you feel the need to make a comment that suggests you and her. You're playing a game. There it is. You may not want to admit you're doing it, but you're playing a game, dude. Especially if she told you things like, I would like to get married. She's trying not to push you, right? But every time you extend an invitation, it's to her. And notice, unless she's busy, she's accepting it. Every time. Whether you want to admit it or not, fellas, you are exclusively dating her. You're not engaged, you're not married, but you are exclusively dating her. So my suggestion is that you have a conversation with yourself or God or whoever you talk to, Krishna, Buddha, Hindu, and whoever you, Balaam, whoever you talking to, and you settle some things. And if you're going to exclusively date her because you know that that's where your attention is and she's reciprocating that, then yes, I'm going to tell you to take a chance here. I know you don't like that, but have a conversation with her. And this is where women have said this many times to me. At least tell me. At least tell me. And then if she wants to reciprocate that, then she will be able to hear you and reciprocate. Reciprocate meaning if you say, look, I'm still not ready to get married or even engaged, but I would like to date you exclusively. That will, now, fellas, I know we don't like this, but I gotta say it. That will allow her to be able to say to those people who are curious, wait, let me add a little bit more salt on this one. Let me put some seasoning. And you've met the children, and you've met the grandkids, and you've met coworkers, and you've been invited to family shindigs, and you've done all this kind of stuff. Man, do you understand? And she's inviting you, but then you kind of being like, nah, I'm good. Nah, I'm good. You're playing a game, man. You're trying to keep her right there. You just want to keep her right there. Why? But then if she checks you, which I told you I'm cool with, if she checks you, then you want to be like, oh, look, see, that's why I don't like dating women, because they be coming at you. Well, you're doing that to her. You're keeping her right in this little space where it's a gray area. There's no gray area mentally and emotionally. We got to stop this nonsense. There is no gray area. Just because people tolerate things doesn't mean there's gray area. We weren't built by God to have gray area. If you want to date her exclusively, but you're not ready to pop a question, then be like, hey, when I socialize, when I go out, I like to have company of the opposite sex. You and I get along really well. Would you be cool with us dating exclusively? So when things are scheduled, I'm scheduling it with you. Or I'm not scheduling it. That's what you mean. I'm not scheduling events. I'm not inviting you to my house. Yeah, Christian, stay with me. Don't die. Don't die on me now. Don't have a heart attack, because Pastor Dave said. Yeah, I said. I invited you to my house. You invite me to your house. I invite you to my family reunion. I don't know why you do family reunion, but anyway, family reunion, whatever it may be. If you're going to do that, then you understand, fellas, or maybe you didn't, but you should now, she's interpreting that. She can't help herself. She can't help it. I'm telling you now. I don't care how tough she's trying to be. She can't help it. She's going to interpret that, and get over yourself, because some of you are doing it. Yeah, I know I'm focusing on fellas tonight, but it is what it is. Some of you are doing it because you don't want her, because she a two-piece and a biscuit. I get it. I get it. She a two-piece and a biscuit. You want to put her on a plate of gravy and top her up with a biscuit. I understand. But that's unfair, and you're playing a game. You're trying to keep her from because you know, she said, you know, because if I'm talking to this, I don't like to talk to a bunch of dudes. You're like, cool. So now she's only talking to you, and she's looking and anticipating those invitations, and you're giving them because she's cool. And then you come across another two-piece and a biscuit, and because you didn't make any commitment. See, this is why ladies say, I know, Gabe, are you defending women? No, I'm just explaining. So this is why women say we fear commitment, because they're willing to engage. I've been single for 8.5 years. They're willing to engage, and if we play the game of even exclusivity, and then we suddenly, because we came across another two-piece and a biscuit, nice plate of gravy with, supper, delicious. Now, I haven't even gotten to the complication that comes when you add, now stay with me, Christians, I know you don't pass out on me, when you add sexual intercourse or sexual interaction. I haven't even gotten to that. Notice, I haven't even touched that. Especially, now, again, the moral code of the Christian faith is no unless you're married. Now, I shouldn't have to say that every convicting time, but I'm talking to grown people, so let me talk plain for a second. I ain't telling nobody's business. I'm just talking in general. Don't share your business on Facebook or YouTube, okay? If you do, I'm going to delete your comment. Don't share your business. Don't do that. Let me talk. Don't do that. If you go there on a date or dating, if you go there I strongly recommend that you, before preferably, but at some point, have an adult conversation. Yes, even Christians, it's not recommended in Scripture. You know that. You don't need me to tell you again for the 47th time. But if you go there, I strongly recommend you have a conversation and clear the air and make sure both of you don't have a conversation with 22 other people. Talk to each other and make sure it is understood between you two. That's why I recommend before you do it. Now, I understand if you're in the heat of the moment, that doesn't always happen. But if you're going to continue, fellas, I'm back to you. I got to do it, fellas. I love you, though. If you're going to keep seeing her after you've had relations with her, and you're going to keep seeing her exclusively, you do understand that she is reading things into that. I know you don't like that, but respect it. Respect it. I'm just challenging you, fellas, to respect it. Society jumps down her throat and tells her, no self-respecting woman, this, that, and the third. As if the man is not culpable. He's culpable. Now, if you choose to have relations, that is your choice. Regardless to whatever your belief system is, that is still a choice. If you choose to do it, I strongly recommend that you handle that with maturity. And the only way you can, maturity ain't just googly-eying at each other. Maturity is a conversation. Be plain, be respectful, be clear. Look, I know we're attracted to each other. I get it. You know, we're in each other's company. And it seems like if we keep doing it, look, just be honest. If we keep doing this, there's a real chance we're going to engage. I'm not saying we have to. I'm not saying let's do this. I'm just telling you, last time we were together, you know, when we greeted each other, that hug lasted 2 or 3 more extra seconds. And when we parted each other, it lasted about 10, 15 minutes. Hence, genitalia. So let's have a conversation. Maybe you have to do it over the phone because you get a little nervous, you know, you're all googly eyed like little children. Have a conversation, because if you don't and you go there, she might have been the one, but now it's complicated. She might not have been the one. Now it's complicated. So whether it's a date, gay, really? Hey, man, look, I'm talking to grown people. A date or dating, if you're going to add genitalia, I'm keeping it clean, PG-13. If you're going to add genitalia to the situation, have a conversation like grown people. And again, I'm going to say it again, because next week we're moving on to engagement and marriage. If you cannot say the word sex without blushing, if you cannot talk about the topic as mature adults, why in the world would you engage in it? Why do you want to get married? And I'm not giving you permission. Yeah, Gabe said, Pastor, now you're going to call me Pastor now. Pastor Matthew said, you got to be able to talk about sex. Yeah, but let me qualify that before I go. I mean, have a conversation, not about what positions you like. No. How many times a week in a day and 75 times a day? What's wrong with you? You must be taking vitamins and supplements and minerals. You eating vegetables from here on to eternity. Bless your heart. You had a V8 40 ounce. Anyway, the reality of it is, no, I'm talking about what does that mean to you? What do you attach to sex? Because men and women attach meaning to sex. Whether we want to admit it or not, we attach meaning. I don't understand why we don't stop and think about these things. We attach meaning to our interactions. We do. When I sat in my supervisor's office today, my supervisor is a woman. You don't think I was cognizant of that? A decent looking woman, but also a married woman. She's married. I'm not. And as I told you last week, my body language, everything had to be, one, because she's my supervisor, but two, I had to come off and present myself in a way that was not demonstrative in any way. If I had any I didn't have any today, but if I had any disagreement with her, I was going, remember, she told me about being confrontational. I would have had to handle that very professionally. Because when I confront, you know, I'm one of those people. If I'm going to go there, I go there. So I have to carry myself in a way, because as I told my boss, yes, I did, the man-woman factor matters. I even told my boss, who is a Caucasian woman, same age as my parents, that when it comes to counselors, we may need to get, you know, a counselor of color. And guess what? She immediately agreed with me. Gabe, what are you saying? I'm saying that these factors matter. And to try to suggest that they don't. Men, if you see a woman make your eyes come out your head, how you think you're going to just have a conversation with her and be sitting there, and if she says something back to you relative to you make her eyes come out of her head, and you ain't going to have no conversation. You need to have a conversation, especially if you end up alone. Now, I'm doing a really good job of keeping this PG. But some of y'all understand what I'm saying. On and popping and all that. No, we too old for that. Have a conversation. Look, I just want to keep things respectful. I just want to make sure we cool. We clearly like each other. And look, we grown. I'm not saying we got to go there. Again, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to proposition you in any way. Look, I'm just saying, if I felt like my manager, my supervisor was inappropriate with me, I would have said something. But that's just me. I'm not saying everybody's cut from the same cloth as I am, because I don't like people messing with my money. I'm just serious about it. Don't mess with my money. I don't care how cute you are. Don't mess with my money. And I have had to tell people that in previous jobs. So understand, I'm done. My hour is up. But please hear me. When it comes to a date, look, go on a date. Sit there and talk. Go sit down with somebody you're attracted to. Yeah, of course. You want to sit down with somebody you can't stand? That don't make no sense. Go sit down with somebody you're attracted to and see if you can hold a conversation, a decent conversation. Look, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to go over my time, but let me tell you what's going to happen. That attraction is going to grow. Tell me I'm wrong. If you're going to sit down with somebody who is visibly attractive to you, you go to dinner and you're talking and you're laughing, and yeah, you may have some tough things to say about a subject, and you have some disagreement, but you find that you end that conversation in good standing. Yeah, the attraction probably just grew. Probably. And if you intend, men and women, to continue to see each other, then you might have to give yourself permission to consider what that's going to mean going forward. I'm not saying you can't change your mind. I'm not saying you can't go into it saying, look, I'm not looking to get married and engaged or anything like that right now. But as you talk and time passes, weeks, months, years, or whatever, and then you find, okay, this person is definitely somebody I want to be around. I want to be around them. Now, look, nothing that I've said works for those who just playing games. Men and women. If you're just playing games, you're looking for a sugar daddy, sugar mama, you're just looking for somebody to pay your rent, or you just want somebody's car you can drive, or you're just trying to get sex or whatever. If that's what you're doing, nothing I'm saying is going to help you, because that kind of intention is going to get exposed. I'm not talking to y'all. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to people who are mature or at least want to mature in this area and would like to enjoy the company of the opposite sex. Gabe, you're saying that men and women can be friends. That's not what I said. What I said is that you can enjoy the company of the opposite sex and not have sex. You can actually sit down and have a meal. And by the way, one last little tidbit, you might want to try sitting down and have a meal first before you have sex. Just a thought. If you're going to go right to sex, then don't try to backtrack and go have a meal. That's awkward. Because now it's like you're just doing that to save face. That's what is that? Go have a meal, talk, laugh, cry. It's not. I don't know, but interact as adults. I would suggest publicly, but interact in a way where you can just sit and just talk and laugh and whatever, and be intentional about subjects. Tell me about your last relationship. Well, I don't really like to talk about it. Well, I understand, but is there lessons that you learned? Tell me some lessons you learned from your last relationship. We don't have to talk about the relationship, but what are some lessons that you learned? You don't have to run down your ex-husband, wife, or your ex-boyfriend or fiance or ex, girlfriend or whatever. No, but what are some lessons that you learned? Well, I learned that if people say they're gonna be on time and they don't be on time, they're lying. Okay, well that's a valuable lesson. So people should be on time. Yeah, okay. So now I know what you value, and you didn't beat up the person you was in a relationship with. See, I'm trying to give just a little bit of pointers because I don't want you to be like, well, gave you no, I gave you something to work with. Ultimately, be adult, be mature, communicate with each other, be willing to be face to face. I don't really do FaceTime and all that kind of stuff. I've had people, hey, gave you FaceTime, you video chat. I probably did it once or twice. That's not my thing in terms of a way I want to, because, well, I ain't going to get into that. I move around in my house when I'm by myself in a certain way, and that's not conducive for video chatting. See how nicely I put that? So since I like to move around in my house the way I like to move around in my house, I can put my Bluetooth on and set my phone down and walk around in the way I like to be in my house and not have to worry about anything else. I could just talk and talk and talk and talk. That was a pretty nice way to say that. All right, I'm done. If you got any more comments, you can put them in there, and I will address them. I'll type a comment back to you. Next week, we're going to talk about engagement, and I want to link exclusive dating and engagement together in a way that I hope will help you to make that kind of transition smoothly. It's not always the case. It's going to still be communication, but I want to talk about engagement next week. In particular, marriage, I may do that by itself, but I want to talk about dating, exclusive dating and engagement, and show you how they really can come together. But I'm not going to preview it now. We'll see you next week. Share this out. Get this in front of as many people as you can. Hey, it's something you can talk about. You can dialogue. Bring me in on it. When I find some time, I'll come in, and trust me, I'll comment. When I get some time, I'll get on there and comment. If you share this on your page, get this out to as many people as you can, so that people can start having the conversations. Love you. See you next week.